gifts and talents with us. We really appreciate you. Well, today is the first Sunday in Advent, the 4 Sundays preceding Christmas. And Advent comes from a Latin word that means the arrival or the coming. It's a period of preparation for the coming of the birth of the baby Jesus, also known as Jesus the Christ. And the Advent season is also a time to prepare for our own spiritual rebirth. It's a time to strengthen our relationships and deepen our commitment to our spiritual journey. It's a season of opening doors so that the divine can show through us and to celebrate the rebirth of the Christ Spirit within. And let this Advent season be your personal journey of hope, faith, peace, love, and joy. And although Christmas season is a time of love and joy, it can also be a time of busyness and stress, and that would prevent us from the true meaning of Christmas and living it. So how can we stay focused on the significance of the season? Well, we can take time each day and pray and reflect on the purpose and the meaning, the true importance of Christmas. Think back to the joyous news. Someone in your family was having a baby. Whether it was your own child, a niece, a nephew, a grandchild, or a sibling. I remember when my sister, who's 6.5 years younger than I am, was going to be born, how excited I was. By the way, she never lets me forget she's 6.5 years younger than I am. But I still remember that excitement. And if you didn't have babies in your family, perhaps you had a dog or a cat that you also were preparing to come into your home. Well, we have just excitement and anticipation. And following the news, we begin to prepare. We must clean up the clutter that's in the room where we're going to have the baby. We have to paint the room the right color for the baby, purchase a bed and other furnishings, and probably get a rocking chair. And that's just the surroundings. We need diapers, clothes, bottles, blankets, a car seat, a stroller, etc., or a leash, a winter coat, water bowls, food bowls, and a doggy bed. And while we're at it, maybe we should read some of the latest techniques on raising a child or housebreaking a puppy. And gifts, we want to get gifts. Let's get the baby a teddy bear, and we'll get a chew toy or something for the dog. So as excited as we are when we expect a baby in the family, let's transfer that same excitement and anticipation and preparation to the coming of the Christ child. And we need to get ready, and by this I mean preparing our own consciousness of the rebirth. It takes place every year where we can remain aware of the Christ presence. It's always everywhere present in us, as us, and through us. And although we occasionally get overwhelmed and stressed out about life's happenings, we get distracted by the worldly things that happen, the things we think we need to do. We momentarily forget who we really are. And according to our unity teachings, the name Jesus Christ has two meanings, twofold meaning. The first is Jesus, that is a man from Galilee. The second is the Christ, and that is a perfect spiritual self of every one of us, you and me, with no exclusions. Jesus represents the spiritual person and activity, the outpicturing of the potential that our spiritual self gives us. In John 14:12, Jesus said, "Very truly I tell you, the one who believes in me will also do the work that I do, and in fact will do greater than these." That always makes me remember a song, "Anything you can do, I can do better. Yes, I can, yes, I can, yes, I can." Well, Jesus was saying, anything I can do, you can do better. Yes, you can, and yes, you can. I'm not positive that in my humanness I actually truly absorb and can wrap around the concept of the Christ within. I understand the truth that the same Spirit that lived in Jesus is in me, but it's just almost impossible to really absorb that into our human consciousness. So we have established that Christ is the Spirit within us, and it's a time for us to bring our awareness of the truth to be nurtured and grown. And every time we turn our attention to the Spirit within, that grows our spiritual awareness. So let's think of some ways to anticipate and celebrate this new baby that's coming. Prepare the room, supply the necessities, comprehend the impact of the coming of our baby Jesus. So in order to celebrate, let's spread the good news. And how can we do that? Well, instead of sending out shower invitations and birth announcements, let's attempt to be patient, kind, understanding, friendly, happy, loving, everywhere we go and in every interaction. If someone crowds in front of us in Walmart, they must be a little more stressed than we are, overwhelmed by the season. So instead of then giving them a dirty look, shoving them aside, muttering under our breath, let's be kind and send them blessings of harmony and peace. And at work, if you have that person that rubs you the wrong way, realize the same Christ Spirit abides in them that abides in you, and just overlook the fact that they're annoying. And let's start expressing the excitement instead of our stress and our fatigue. So now we're going to start on the room, and we'll assume the room is cluttered with stuff, just as our consciousness is usually cluttered with stuff. We humans tend to hang on to all the material possessions that we think we need, or some well-meaning family member probably shoved off on us because they didn't want it. I think I heard on Facebook the thing about Americans are the only people that will have a car sitting in the driveway worth tens of thousands of dollars, and our garage is full of stuff that's not worth anything. So the things that we're hanging on to seem to be resentment, anger, frustration, disappointment, guilt, shame, remembrance of the hurtful situations. So during this time of preparation, let's take some time to recall those experiences, because this time we're going to bring them up and let them go. There are several ways that we can do this. We can visualize whatever the situation was, and we can just picture it floating off like a bubble. Or we can picture us sweeping cobwebs or dusting. So there's also another way. We can write it down and just keep writing and writing and writing and writing and let that emotion build within us. We can huff and puff. We can grit our teeth. We can cuss. God doesn't care. Now take your paper and tear it up in little bitty tiny pieces and flush it down the toilet, or burn it in the fireplace, or put it in your charcoal grill. Take a deep breath and exhale. Now shake it off and grin. Ha ha ha, it's gone, it's gone. However, if it reappears, we do have the burning bowl the last Sunday of this month. And you can bring it and we'll burn it again. And many of those things we do hang on to and let them reappear. So let's get busy painting the room. Let's spend time in meditation, asking God, what is mine to do? What do I need to prepare myself spiritually and to be always aware of the Christ Spirit within and the potential, oh my goodness, the potential that involves knowing the Christ Spirit is in each of us. So next, after you've asked, you're in meditation, sit and listen. Shh. Shh. Don't hear anything? That's okay. God is not ignoring you. You are not broken. There's later today and there's tomorrow. You may never hear a deep, loud voice. It may just come as a gentle knowing that this is something you need to do. It may come to you in the shower. It may come to you when you're sleeping. It may come to you at Walmart. It could come while you're driving or at the gas station or even in church. Well, now we must purchase the supporting accommodations. So how does that compare to our spiritual preparation? It can come in many ways, but we need to set aside some time in our schedule. We need to get up earlier. 30 minutes won't make any difference in how rested we are. And we won't be any more rested if we stay in bed 30 minutes either. So that time spent in meditation is just as restful as if you were still sleeping. And if you already meditate, you know that. And you can expand your meditation time, 5 minutes or 15, whatever works for your schedule. And you know that that's the most relaxing and restful time of your entire day. And how else can we make comfortable our Christ child? Have we studied the unity teachings? Have we considered the whole Christmas story metaphysically? And the good news is that whatever your metaphysical interpretation is and whatever mine, even if they're totally different, they're both right. And next year, we may both have totally different interpretations of the birth. Maybe we don't feel pulled to go to Sunday services, but maybe, just maybe, your presence is what someone else needs. That smile or that hug, just letting them know that you're here and they're here, that may be what they needed. Mary Kay Ash, who founded Mary Kay Cosmetics, and many, many women have been in several times and sold Mary Kay, but she always said about our motivational meetings, if you had a good week, we need you. And if you had a bad week, you need us. And to me, that also applies to church services. So it's time to read the latest advice on childbearing or training our puppy. Do we read the daily word? Do we subscribe to Unity Magazine and read it? If we like to play on the internet, do we have daily inspirational messages coming to us on the internet? Do we set a time reading something spiritual, a book maybe? And if you can't think of a book, can't find a book, ask around. Many people in here read a lot. And if you read a book that you think we would like, please recommend it so that we can read it too. And there's also online classes at Unity Village that you can take. Anyone can take them. And gifts, what are we going to give? Well, first we need to give to ourselves, because we're programmed to believe that we should give and give and give until it hurts and then keep giving. I spent 5 years in therapy for codependency. The good news is the therapist had me read Discover the Power Within You by Eric Butterworth, and she also mentioned maybe I should attend a Unity church. But before that, I never had a clue that I was supposed to value myself, protect my spirit, and I don't think many people from my generation did. I don't know if it was our traditional Christian upbringing or if it was a race consciousness at that time. And race consciousness, it's that compiled energy that surrounds us, affects the opinion of every one of us, even if we totally do not agree with what the consciousness is at that time. We were taught to give without thinking of receiving, and that's really strange, because scientifically, if we give, we create a vacuum and we receive more, and then we have more to give, and it's just a constant loop. What I caution you to consider is that we often give and give and give until we're just decimated, unable to give anymore because we've already given more than our own person. So if we're weak and incoherent, most likely not in a place to be receptive for all the gifts God has for us, we need to replace and renourish that. And it's not selfish to say no or no thank you. Occasionally we have to protect ourselves that way. if we continue to give and give, we're going to be in a place where we're void and we have nothing left to give. I think probably all of us have reached that at some time, and that's particularly true of caregivers when they have someone who needs their care. Another way to prepare to re-energize our awareness of the Christ Spirit is to focus on a different attribute each week till Christmas. Usually the first week is hope, followed by peace, love, and joy. And Charles Fillmore, in the Revealing Word, is a dictionary he wrote. Charles Fillmore is the co-founder of Unity. He said hope, and he adds faith, is the expectation of good in the future. It's a quality-based, good as far as it goes, of sense mind because it's subject to time. Faith is the certain knowledge that our good is ours right now. It is of God, therefore it has no time or space. And Sue and I have discussed this many times, every Advent for sure. But we think Unity gives hope a bad rap, or kind of glosses over it. Because for years and years and years, the first Sunday in Advent was hope. Well, in 2008, they changed it to faith. But you know, hope is a stepping stone to faith. It's like training wheels on a bicycle, with hope being the training wheels and faith being the knowing that eventually we will be able to ride that bicycle. Now I have an unpaid infomercial. Unity puts out this little daily reading. We have a few in the bookstore. If we need to get more, I can get some more in this week. There's a reading for every day till Christmas, and then usually 12 days after Christmas. We also have this lovely Unity calendar in the bookstore, available for a mere $1. So stop by the bookstore.
Great stocking stuffers.
Yes. We have the most precious gift of hope, God's gift to each and every one of us. And have you ever seen a happy, hopeless person? No, people that are hopeless are never happy. In the Prosperity Plus series that I've taught several times, and anyone that's taken Prosperity Plus has already heard this story. But Mary Morrissey does this program, and in it she tells her story of how she was introduced to New Thought. When she was 16 years old, a junior in high school, she became pregnant. And her folks, they were devastated. They act as if she died because their aspirations for her had died. Well, she had a hasty, tiny wedding to her high school sweetheart, who was now a college freshman. She had to go to an alternative night school because the nice girls couldn't be put in with the bad girls. And that's really the way it was back then. She gave birth during her senior year. And when her little boy baby was 5 or 6 months old, her kidneys shut down. One completely and the other one was really badly damaged. And she was in the hospital to have one kidney removed, and they were hoping the other one would take over and she would continue to live. And the night before her surgery, a minister came into her room and asked if she could pray with her. And of course she said, sure. Here's this girl, picture her, 19 years old, in this hospital bed in a very stark hospital room. She has this baby to raise, and she's facing surgery that may or may not save her life. Now, who wouldn't be afraid? We all would. So the minister sat with her and asked her if she could believe that she'd be cured, and her answer was no. Could she believe that the disease would all move over to the kidney they were taking out and that the other kidney would begin to function better? And she said, nope, not really. The minister said, do you believe I believe that that can happen? And Mary said, maybe. So what this minister gave her was hope when she was hopeless. Since then, she's lived a full life. She had advanced college degrees, 3 more children. She was minister in a huge congregation with the land around the church was the size of a college campus. She became an international speaker. She's a leader in the Association of Global New Thought, and she's only a couple years younger than I, so she lived a long time. And sometimes we just have to practice our hope, which will eventually energize our faith without a doubt. There are times we need a sponsor or prayer partner that can hold the vision for us. Sort of like the minister offered Mary, someone to hold the faith for her. They can hold the faith while we nurture our hope and bring our faith back around. And this is an example of living the mission statement here at Unity of Springfield, to become a prayer partner or a support person for someone. In that, you encourage and inspire spiritual and personal growth by empowering each other to be authentically all that we came here to be. And each of us is different. Each situation is different. We may react differently to every experience. One, we may just breeze through. Faith is intact. Life is good. Another may take the wind out of our sails or knock us right down on our knees. And that's when we need our support person to hold the faith while we reconnect with our hope. And we'll grow our faith again. Does this make any sense? And we don't upset God. We aren't a bad person with wavering faith. We're a spiritual being living a human experience. And it's almost like we have a dual personality. Jesus had his disciples, so we need our disciples. We need our support person, our prayer person to hold the high watch when we are faltering. And you know the voices in your head? I have a board of directors in my head that talks all the time, at the same time, loud. They're questioning my ability while I'm trying to reassure myself that I'm a child of God in whom God is well pleased, that God is for me, so nothing and no thing can be against me. I deserve all the goods, it's my birthright. And sometimes I have to remember I survived before, and I will survive this little blip on my life screen. Charles Fillmore said the most important words were, Christ in you, your hope of glory. The most important words that have carried me through several trials and tribulations are from Jeremiah 29:11. And I didn't put that there, Sue did, and I was glad it was left up. I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. They ring like a mantra in my head. They come to me when my thoughts are spinning and when I'm letting fear or despair take over. This scripture impressed itself on me when I was unexpectedly relieved, also known as fired, from a position I'd had for a long time. And this scripture just kept appearing over and over for 3 days, and it still does to me. And Mary Hilzebeck Huber, our board president, she opened a meeting that it was on a Saturday afternoon. The board and Mary is on the board. Sue and myself were also there. And what we were doing was studying a book that we'd all read on church growth and church retention. Mary opened this meeting with some questions. What has unity done for you? How has it changed your life? What kept you coming back? What has motivated you to become an active leader? And to my surprise, after being in Unity 30 plus years and studying all of this, I had never stopped to ask myself that question. When I appeared on that back row crying every Sunday, this happened in the late 80s, I didn't know where I belonged or if I belonged anywhere. I was broken. I was sad. I had no joy. I felt like a loser. I felt unlovable. I felt worthless to myself and to everybody else. I was in despair at its lowest. And I didn't realize at the time, but I thought I was a victim, that everything in life was happening to me. And I'm not telling you this to make you feel sorry for me. We all have our story. But I hope that you weren't at such a low point when you showed up on the doorstep of your first Unity church. I'm just painting a picture of where I was at the time. So back to this Sunday afternoon or Saturday afternoon discussion. I really examined what unity had done to change my life, and I began to take inventory of all those negative attributes that I felt back then. And so I sort of like mentally visualized putting them in a file folder. And the file folder had a name, and it was hopeless. I had nowhere to turn. I had no one to turn to. But I learned through unity that I did have someone to turn to, and that someone is God. Now, when I came to unity, I had faith, but I had a different God than I have now. My old God, he sat up on a cloud in the sky in long white robes with a long white beard, and he kind of ran things like a puppeteer would. And now I have a totally different relationship with God, and actually a totally different relationship with myself. So what is my greatest gift from unity? It's hope. It was hope that I'm a good person. It's hope that I'm worthy. It's hope that it's healthy to be myself, who I am, and to love myself just the way I am. It's hope that I have the ability to change that which might not be as lovable about me as I'd like it to be. And I know changing my attitude is going to change my altitude in the experience. And guess what? God did not pick Dee out from all the rest to give her hope. God graces everyone with hope. And we're unity. We're not some secret society, some private cult. We're unity. So let's share the hope. Whatever it was that unity has given you to make your life better, something that's kept you coming back Sunday after Sunday or week after week, year after year, let's share it. Anyone you know that's floundering, struggling, questioning, bring them with you. Give them a chance to make the choice. Another activity I encourage you to do during this Advent season is to contemplate how your life has changed since you came to unity. Every year during Advent, we have the opportunity to take inventory of where we are, where we were, where we want to go, how we're going to get there, and we can set our intention to make positive choices. So it comes back to consciousness of choice. And your choice comes from your consciousness. Again, have you ever seen a hopeless, happy person? No. Michelle, she's yours too, administrative assistant, shared with me a message of hope from a TV program that she likes, Once Upon a Time, and it said, "I refuse to believe there won't be more adventures, more love, more family, and yes, even more loss, because that's just a part of life. And in the end, we can get past it all with hope." So wherever you are this holiday season and whatever is happening,